According to the NTSB theory of what happened the night John Kennedy Jr. died, a skilled and careful pilot flying an aircraft with sophisticated autopilot and other advanced safety features for no apparent reason suddenly dropped like a stone out of clear skies and into the waters off the west coast of Martha's Vineyard. The NTSB radar report of the crash makes this look like either an explosion or a suicide, doesn't it? But the wreckage was found in a concentrated area and showed no signs at all of explosion. Did John decide to commit suicide by murdering his wife and sister-in-law in his mother's front yard the day before his cousin's wedding? Well, you be the judge. At 11:30 the next morning, in a detailed and absolutely accurate report, the official Coast Guard information officer, Todd Burgun, told ABC's affiliate station in Boston that Kennedy had contacted the Martha's Vineyard Tower at 9:39 the night before, telling them that he was on final approach 19 miles off the coast of Martha's Vineyard.
It was at 9:39 p.m. and it was with the FAA, and it was on its final approach to Martha's Vineyard.
So at 9:39, to the best of your information, JFK Jr. made a contact with the airport, with the flight controllers, the air traffic controllers at Martha's Vineyard Airport, that he was on a final descent.
That is correct.
At 9:39.
The detailed NTSB radar analysis of the flight shows that at 9:38 and 50 seconds, the plane was indeed on final approach 19 miles off the coast of Martha's Vineyard and holding at 2,500 feet. FAA regulations require that aircraft on final approach hold at 2,500 feet and contact the tower before descending further. So, Burgun's report of radio contact is absolutely credible, entirely corroborated by the NTSB radar analysis. But 2 hours after Burgun's news report of contact with the tower, at 1:30 p.m., the Pentagon took over the reporting of the news. They silenced Burgun and began spreading a whole grip of really obvious lies, including the lie that John Kennedy did not contact the tower. Why? It's not so hard to figure out. You see, if the Pentagon had allowed the news of the tower contact to get out, it would have allowed the search and rescue craft to focus their search on the crash area. This is clearly something the Pentagon was trying to avoid. You see, ABC also reported that John's emergency locator beacon went off and was received by the Air Force satellites. This means the Air Force knew the exact location of the crash the instant it occurred. According to the New York Times, the FAA's radar analysis showing the crash location was available at 5 a.m. This radar analysis is called an NTAP. It showed the plane went down 19 miles off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. But this information was withheld from the rescue craft, and they were kept searching the entire flight path until after 1 p.m.
We'll continue on the same track that we're on, which is to search the entire area. We have nothing that absolutely pinpoints one area as opposed to another, so we can't rule out the entire flight.
Clearly, they were trying to keep the search and rescue craft out of the area. And this is certainly not the only evidence of criminal conspiracy in John Kennedy Jr.'s death. From 10 p.m. until 2 a.m., several people, including Senator Kennedy, tried unsuccessfully to get the FAA to begin a search. It wasn't until Ted Kennedy called the White House at 6:30 a.m. that a search was finally begun. But again, the planes were spread out all over the East Coast and kept away from the crash area until after 1 p.m. And again, why? Well, when you come up with a better answer, please let me know. After 6 years of asking, this is my answer. What seems very clear is that there was a flight instructor on that plane. Kennedy always flew with a flight instructor. Always. He told his closest friends that he was going to fly with one that night. And when the Kennedy family finally, at 2 a.m., gave up on calling the FAA and instead reported the plane missing to the Coast Guard, it was these family members who told the Coast Guard that there was a flight instructor on board the plane. But around 1:30 in the afternoon, at the same time that the Pentagon began taking over the story, at the same time that they began telling all these lies, the completely unsubstantiated report went out that there was in fact no flight instructor on the plane. Now, there were no witnesses to the plane's takeoff. There was and is absolutely no basis for this report of no flight instructor. And yet all the media immediately accepted this story. Someone on that plane committed suicide. We know because the fuel valve was found in the off position. We know that turning off the fuel valve is the mark of a suicide because 100 days later and 50 miles away, another suicidal pilot on Egypt Air 990 also pushed his plane into the sea, killing 100 of Egypt's top military officers after turning off the fuel valve. The suicidal flight instructor on John's plane and the suicidal pilot on Egypt Air 990 were both Manchurian candidates, programmed to assassinate themselves and everyone on board their planes. The rescue craft were diverted from the crash area so that the body of the flight instructor could be recovered, apparently attached to one of the seats, which is also missing. A lieutenant from the Civil Air Patrol says he saw them out there. But who programmed these flight instructors? Who diverted the rescue craft? And who told the Pentagon to tell all these ridiculous lies? The short answer is the same monsters who planned the attacks of September 11th. They decided,
the father kills the father, the son should kill the son.
They liked the poetry of it. But please notice that George W., whose father supervised the murder of John Kennedy Sr., George W. Bush, whose father made his bone with the oil mafia by killing the father. George W. Bush got on a bus at 10 o'clock in the morning of the day John Kennedy Jr. died and disappeared for 3 days. His staff was unable to say where he was, what he was doing, or even when he would be back. Please, get this video, send it to your congressperson, to your city council person, to any honest law enforcement people you know. Show it to your best friend, to your children, to your mama. People teaching each other. This is how history is made. Please, be a part of history in the making.